This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post, brought to you by the Fort Hall School of Government, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 1st of July, 2022, and I am GW.
I am MC Squared.
And I am GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. The Daily Nation, RUTO's pledge. The Standard, my plan for Kenya. The Star, RUTO's multi-billion purse for hustlers. And finally, the People Daily, RUTO's promise. So, before we delve into the headlines, allow me to kick off our submissions today. So now, my guys here at the table and everyone there.
Yes.
I don't know if it's just me, but the one thing that I took away from the 2 split-screen manifesto launches last night was the phrase, Tingiza Mti. The contrast between the Wajackoyah manifesto bash and the UDA mass service was like night and day. And therefore, it is my humble opinion that once again, Wajackoyah has showed people who the real hustler is. And that hustler does not come from Sugoi. And so today, once again, I would like to spend some time on the promise that the 2 hustler candidates are offering. After all, a manifesto is a dream presented to the people. And from there, citizens can make a decision about who to follow. A manifesto must have 2 key elements to it. It must be packed with substance, and it also has to be interesting. So let's begin with the first one, the legend himself, Wajackoyah. The Wajackoyah manifesto is simple. It was one page, in a document, not the 66-page RUTO manifesto. The Wajackoyah 10 commandments were practical, straight to the point, and guys, they were WhatsAppable. And yet, they were loaded with impact. First of all, this guy told Kikuyus how they can make money from farming in the Bangi economy, calling it the next cash crop of the country.
Correct.
He told us that 1 acre of Bangi can easily fetch somebody 8 million shillings from just one harvest. Look at Nyeri as an example. If the 583,000 acres of land in Nyeri were planted with Bangi, it would make the country a total of 4.6 trillion shillings per harvest.
Wow.
Nyeri residents would apparently pocket 9.2 trillion shillings every year. That is like the economy of Ethiopia. This Nyeri Bangi money could buy Microsoft twice or could build 2 expressways in all 47 counties. Imagine that. With money like that, he may just take a chunk of the Gema vote pie, don't you think? Because we know that the love language of the mountain is the Kenya shilling.
True.
Facts.
With the snakes, he told us that on average, people will be earning 600,000 per vial of anti-venom. As in those animals that we already kill out of fear can make us money.
Imagine that.
But that's not all. He told us that we will combine the 24-hour economy with a 4-day work week to ensure that work-life balance is catered for all.
Yes.
And we cannot forget that he told us about corruption, a topic that was glaringly missing from the RUTO manifesto.
True.
Wajackoyah told us that he will hang those found guilty of corruption and will even feed them chicken and chapati before he does so. By comparison, the RUTO manifesto, in my opinion, was rather boring. It was missing something. It felt like a church adult service, while Wajackoyah sounded like youth church. Since Raila launched his Azimio promise, the Hustler Nation had been screaming that their manifesto would be groundbreaking, that it would bring revolution, aka freedom is coming. But all it did was bring more of the same.
True.
It was basically a repackaged version of the Big Four agenda. Nothing different, nothing original. The question we must ask, therefore, is who is the true revolution candidate? Is it the one who brings the same words, wearing the same suits, with the same haircut? Or is it the one who literally breaks the wheel? The one who looks at status quo and turns his back at it? Anyways, one must wonder how the DP will recover. One, from the Martha effect that destabilized his campaign, and now he is sharing the limelight with Wajackoyah's appeal to the Hustler Nation. The DP is known to be of choleric temper. He is easy to annoy. Last night, Wajackoyah ruffled some feathers. But that is not all. Just earlier this week, Wajackoyah told us that a vote for him is equal to a vote for Baba.
Yes.
This means that in the event of a runoff, Wajackoyah's vote belongs to Baba.
Finally.
This is something that the DP can ignore, but at his own peril.
Wow. What a submission, GK. Now, following through, yesterday, Kenyans witnessed two vastly different manifesto launches. The Kenya Kwanza manifesto launch and the Roots Party launch. And we all know that politics is like showbiz.
Absolutely.
And the one way to summarize yesterday's events was kunyonga nyoka na tingiza miti. Wajackoyah, hats off to you. You literally stole the show.
True.
Now, let's unpack the events of last night with two rules from the infamous politician hitman Roger Stone,
Okay.
which he has used on numerous occasions to win political campaigns and infiltrate the voters' psyche. He calls them Stone's rules. Let us begin with rule number 16. The only thing worse in politics than being wrong is being boring.
Absolutely.
Does anyone remember Ole Kiapi at the 2013 presidential debate? Zero. But I'm sure you remember Mohammed Dida
And his newspapers,
and his newspapers. The ordinary voter does not have time or the patience for the complexity of politics. And last night, RUTO was without a doubt boring. He spent more than 2 hours drowning us with endless jargon and rebuttal of the same bottom-up tea that he served us 4 years ago when he began his campaign. It sounded like a lecture. Honestly, the people don't give a damn what the situation in Ukraine has to do with their plate of gali this evening.
Yeah.
It's too much. The second rule is rule number 74. Prepare for when the voters are paying attention.
I like that.
This basically means that you must seize the moment when it presents itself.
Yeah.
When you take center stage with the audience in full view, you better make sure you deliver and shake up the existing status quo. Wajackoyah did exactly that last night.
Yes.
He knew when to strike and he executed.
Absolutely.
Listen, Citizen TV has the largest market share of prime time TV viewership. Yesterday, between 7 and 9 p.m., over 50 million Kenyans had their eyes glued to the screens.
Yeah.
And he did not waste that moment. Wajackoyah has been dropping bombs since his ticket was cleared by IEBC.
Yeah.
Completely.
He has told us that he will save the economy with snake venom and hyena testicles. And what's wrong with that? He has your attention. He has left a lasting mark, while others fell asleep at Kenya Kwanza. Now, in failing to apply rule number 16 about being boring in politics, RUTO might have shot himself in the foot. His plan should have been to solidify his hustler narrative, but he bungled it. RUTO made a fatal mistake in the running mate choice by picking Rigathi.
Absolutely.
Even then, Martha Karua stole the show. At the Kenya Kwanza manifesto last night, people wore more bespoke suits than silk threads compared to the real hustlers. And again, Wajackoyah stole the show. Kata simu. Hello.
I love it, GW. Love it. MC Squared, what do you have to give us today?
I want to use yesterday's and what you guys have just said I want to zoom in on one of the things that RUTO said when he was unveiling his manifesto, or should I say his lifesto. And I would like to focus on one aspect of this lifesto. Is planned to spend 500 billion Kenya shillings on agriculture.
Okay.
All his keyboard warriors did was to copy-paste the food security pillar in the Big Four agenda. In fact, his plan falls short of what President Kenyatta has already achieved. The Uhuru administration invested 700 billion shillings in agriculture. That is 200 billion more than what RUTO pledged. And for this investment, the agriculture sector earned 550 billion shillings last year.
Whoa.
And a total of 6 trillion since 2013.
Tell us.
This means that every shilling the Uhuru administration invested in agriculture yielded an 8 shilling return. Can Mr. 6-month plan match this return? Or was he talking that stuff that fertilizes our soil? Remember that Ruto was also agriculture minister in the coalition government. And in his time, he was involved in a maize scandal that cost the country 500 million shillings and led to the starvation of 1 out of every 3 Kenyans.
Okay. What?
And under his tenure, the price of unga rose from 45 bob to 140 shillings. Only 6 months after he assumed his post. Yet he is promising to completely reshape our agriculture industry. How can this be? This has led me to ask a question. Is it possible that Ruto's plan for agriculture is regressive and not progressive?
Who knows?
Remember, Ruto is from the Moi school of politics. Before Moi took office, the coffee and tea sector had been performing well for 50 years. The sector had ensured 8 out of 10 Kikuyus were employed since the colonial era, and Kikuyus could afford school fees. After Moi took office, the sector died an artificial death. Maize production fell by 35%, wheat by 45%. Tea and coffee factories were shut down, all of them. The death of coffee and the tea sector meant education was no longer possible. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how the Kikuyu hustler was born. The very base that Ruto is using to ascend to the presidency. Will Ruto build upon the inheritance left to him by his political father? And since Ruto is so keen on doubling things, will he use his policies to double the number of angry families from 2 million to 4 million? And you see, when you put all of this together, this means that the Kikuyus are safer with Baba, fact, than with Ruto. Ruto has shown us that his solutions make us poorer. Even Wajackoyah's very passionate Bangi plan is more realistic. I say that because if you plant Bangi on 1 acre, it will earn you 16 million in only 1 year. In fact, you only need 31,000 acres in 1 year to make Ruto's 500 billion agriculture money. Maybe Ruto should plant Bangi in his 15,000 acres Ugoi farm instead of farming chicken.
Okay. So we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves these simple, straight to the point 3 questions.
Yes.
Is the headline topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? Let's go through the headlines for the people one more time. The Daily Nation, Ruto's pledge. The Standard, my plan for Kenya. The Star, Ruto's multi-billion purse for hustlers. And the PD, Ruto's promise. I feel there was one headline should have sort of said Wajackoyah's 10 commandments, but that's my opinion.
At least, like, it was straight to the point.
It's true. It's plain. Everyone can see.
Plain and simple. I feel like all of these headlines are speaking the same thing.
They're all speaking the same thing. So shall we toss them all?
All of them.
All of them to the trash? There we go. So we have no winning headline for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that like button. We're also on your TV screens. You'll find us on Pang, Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. But before we go, we will leave you with a very simple quote by a man called Israel Moore. If you can't do it, don't pledge it. No idea who that is addressed to. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Good night.